Gamze, thank you so much for giving up your time this morning. I know you're really busy because you're new into a role, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come and answer some questions.
Pleasure is mine, Suzie. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's absolute pleasure. So, obviously we know each other fairly well, but just to give a bit of a brief context for people who are listening. So, very senior strategic marketing and brand professional, FMCG. So you have 16 years at Unilever and have very recently joined Nelson's, which is a privately owned health and wellness brand, some fantastic products. And they have big growth ambitions. So you've come into that new role. I'm sure you'll tell us a bit more about that when we get into it. So as I say, prior to that, 16 years with Unilever. And what I thought was wonderful is the team have put together the research to do the Q&A. We looked into the awards that you have won, and I'm not going to list them because we found 15. So I think that is seriously impressive, including a Golden Effie and Cannes Lion shortlist. So fantastic. Congratulations to you. Let's dive in, if we may, which is, would you mind explaining a bit more about your career journey to date and any standout moments?
Sure. Well, I think it all started in 2008 when I joined Unilever as a marketing management trainee right after university. And it was a moment of dream come true, joining to a company that is known as one of the best marketing schools in the world. So I felt really, really lucky from the get-go. And if I sit back and reflect, I think the first 10 years of that time, all in Turkey, was operational marketing roles with P&L responsibility. So I first started in the foods category, and I was so lucky because I got to spend a lot of time in the company kitchen, tasting new products, cooking with our chefs, to really understanding what matters for the consumer. And then shortly after, I moved to ice cream. And what a fun and joyful category it was to work with. It's such a joy to be a marketeer in a category that is so loved by so many people. And I worked for brands like Cornetto and Magnum and run big marketing campaigns when I was running ice cream business. And then I moved to beverages, again in Turkey, and I became the marketing director for the Lipton brand. And this was such a different experience. This was an end-to-end responsibility in a category that was quite challenging, a lot of competition, lots of transformation to do. And over there, I think I evolved from a marketing leader to a more business leader. And I started to work with a wider cross-functional team from R&D to procurement to sales to different parts of the supply chain, as well as leading the marketing part of the business. And if I reflect, I think one of the biggest stand-up moments that I had was when I was in Lipton. I created, together with a phenomenal creative team and incredible media partners, a new brand communication idea for the brand. And it's called Time to Talk. And we launched that new brand communication idea with a massive campaign. And it was not only a big success at that moment and drove a step up in business performance, even to this day, after nearly 8 years, it is still the brand communication idea for Lipton, and it continues to be recognized in the sector. So I get quite a lot of joy out of that. I feel I really left my mark there during this campaign. And then after those first 10 years, I moved to London within Unilever and joined the global beauty and personal care division as the new strategy director. And this was a stretch across all dimensions. So a new category, a new function, a new geography, and I loved it. It was so much to learn, and it really helped me to build a much broader business sense and help me understand, what are the biggest choices we make and how do we move resources and how you create a new strategy and implement that transforms growth. And I also got to work with very senior leaders that actually equipped me with a different skill set as a leader and with a much stronger understanding of the business. And I've done that for about 5 years. And I think my biggest proud moment is the creation of the new personal care strategy and the role I played in it, where we brought back focus on the core, as well as building a portfolio that is more premium, sustainable, that now really transform the performance of the business year on year. So I take a lot of pride and joy in that. And the last 2 years of my career in Unilever, I moved back to marketing, this time in the global capacity. And I was leading the premium tier of the Rexona brand known as Sure in the UK, and as well as building a long-term innovation funnel for the category. And at the end of 2024, I decided to close that wonderful chapter of Unilever. And shortly after, as you said, I joined Nelson's, their home of Rescue Remedy. And I really wanted to work in wellness, and I really wanted to work in a smaller company after nearly 17 years in a big company where I have a lot of energy to bring to the business. And still early days, and I'm loving the category. I'm loving the brands. I always had a big passion for wellness and health, and I'm loving my new team, and I'm quite energized with the opportunities that we have.
Oh, sounds like a perfect fit. And you mentioned there about strategy, and I know that Nelson's as a business has big kind of growth ambitions. So what's your approach to strategy in a period of change or growth or transformation? How do you go about it?
Yeah, well, I think it is now safe to assume that change and volatility is here to stay. And we have bigger ambitions than ever. We have limited resources, competition is coming from everywhere, and there's so much ambiguity, so much external factors that are not in our control. So it's really tough time for companies to build winning strategies. And when I reflect on that question, I think there are probably 4 things that I believe put apart a good strategy from a great strategy. Four key components. And I think the first one, it starts with the brutal honesty of the state of the business today. And it's so important that we are understanding what is going on and what are the drivers of success, what isn't working, what insights we know about the health of the business today. And it requires a certain level of leadership that values transparency, honesty, that sets the foundations right for transformation. Because if our starting point and our assumptions and our diagnosis isn't correct, we can't build the right strategy. Yep. I think that's brutal honesty is really critical. Second key component is to having a North Star. And it doesn't have to be always fancy words and pretty visuals, but it's clarity on where we want to take this business and the why. Because that's really, really important, because it sets direction for everybody, but it unites the team and the people, especially in the times of change and difficulties. And sometimes when things go wrong, the North Star tells us what to do, and then we stay on track for the long term. And I've seen strategies where that North Star wasn't clear, and I've seen very quickly it became a short-term tactical play rather than winning sustainably in the long term. The third one is, I think, being able to set only a few big strategic goals. And when I say a few, like 3 to 4, and it's really hard, being really, really clear on the things that will move the needle and to be able to align everyone's work plan to that goal. That will, allow everybody to see a line of sight on how their day-to-day leads to the bigger ambition. And it's really hard, especially in big companies, having that simplicity of the strategic goals and communication of that is vital. And then the fourth element to me is the hardest one. It's all about prioritization of the initiatives. Because I think we often get to the point that, we know what is wrong or what needs to change. We have a vision, we have those strategic choices, but then it becomes a long list of initiatives. So many things to do. And often, leaders are not in a position to make choices because it's hard to make those choices. But at some point, our resources are finite. And, we've got to make those choices and efforts, move resources from one to another. And those hard decisions, if a company is able to make those hard decisions, and I think the strategy will be a success and will be executed well. But it's really, really hard.
What's your approach to leading teams through these processes?
Well, for me, whether it's through, in a time of change or difficulty, leading a team always starts with understanding, getting to know each other, really connecting on an individual level. That all starts with that. For me, I'm a people person, and I always take time to get to know my team individually, understanding, what is going on in their lives, what brought them to this role, what are their career ambitions. It's so important that, taking that time as a leader to get to know the team individually. And equally, getting to know each other as a group collectively, building that team, that connection, for me, is the foundation, because that's where that you could actually understand your collective strengths as a group and potential blind spots that we might be, finding solutions for. So for me, the foundation is taking the time to truly getting to know each other. Then probably second, I would say, is co-creation with the team. I often, want to work with a team when we define our priorities and our work plan, because I really see a lot of value in there, because that's where you can truly feel everyone included in the journey, but also it leads a much stronger ownership from the team, because that's their work, their plan, their success, rather than something that I want to do or I ask my team to do. Mm-hmm. So for me, that co-creation of the work plan is really important. That leads to better ownership and feeling of, more empowerment, because everyone has a say in what we want to do, how we want to do. And then more in the times of probably change and difficulties, I dial this one up a little bit. It's all about communication, having open and honest and frequent communication and conversation in the team. This is really important because, I want to create an environment that, my team feels safe and tell me whatever is in their mind, but also it's my opportunity to always remind the big picture, what is going on, what are the drivers of the change, communicate what is coming so that they have a line of sight, they're not taken by surprise or things like that. But also it's an opportunity for me to channel the energy of the team to the things that we can have an impact on. Because when the things are really tough, there's so many unknowns, it's very easy for teams to kind of channel their energy to things that actually about something else, someone else, but it's really not productive. So what I really try to do is, have an ongoing, frequent conversation where I channel that energy to the things that we can do differently or we have control on. It's really, really critical. And I've seen this working really, really well. And perhaps one last thing, it's true for any situation, but I think in the times of change and transformation becomes even more important, is as a leader how you own the success and the failure. And my approach to that is I create the space for my team to own the successes, make sure that it's celebrated, they own it, they feel it. But, when there is a failure, and if there is a failure, I'm there to take the accountability. That gives them, that freedom to take some risks sometimes, calculated risks, push their limits, especially with younger talent. It works really well because they feel safe, and then they just can go and achieve greater results.
That's a great idea. I think creating that safe environment where people can, they're not afraid to make mistakes, and you'll support them. You mentioned in there about priorities for kind of teams. Do you have a view as to what some of the key priorities might be for kind of senior marketing leaders at the moment?
Oh, yeah, question. I think, marketing as a sector, it keeps evolving and keeps reinventing itself in many ways and forms. And I think, we like it or not, absolutely number one priority for marketers is to keep ourselves upskilled. And it's for me today, it's very much for every marketer to become a successful practitioners of the ever developing Gen AI tools. And I'm using them all the time at work now, and I know the value it's adding, but the more we know how to actually practice successfully, the better marketers we're going to be. And I think that's really, really important. Everyone takes the time to understand and start practicing. And regardless of, where the current understanding levels are, there are so many opportunities available that for everyone to actually build a bespoke upskilling plan. And secondly, linked to that, I think priority for us marketeers is to stay real and really, really human. And, connecting with consumers, understanding the trends, and understanding culture shifts, much more than we did before, because that builds our intuition as a marketeer that can't be replaced by anything. And that's what's really makes us valuable. And that intuition is so critical, and it's very easy to lose because we could outsource everything to machines and tools and things, but we got to remind ourselves that we are the one who needs to bring the human truths to the conversation. That it's a muscle that we've got to keep developing.
Yeah.
And I think it's, as a general topic, I think innovation is fascinating, the world of innovation. I think marketeers, we've just got to be, have an eye in the future all the time, and it's almost like whatever gives us passion and energy, whether it's a world of product innovation, whether it's technology, whether it's business models. I think it's really important that a marketeer kind of, stays connected with 10, 15 years from now, and then start kind of understanding those future changes that might be coming to our way.
Excellent. Thank you for that. We're moving on to the advice section now to kind of finish this off. And I wondered what advice you would share to anyone who has aspirations to get to the level that you're at. What guidance would you share? I bet you've been given some great advice over the years yourself, but what would you share with others who set their sights on senior leadership roles within marketing?
Yeah, I think I can answer to that with my own experience, but also what I observed over the years, because especially when I was working as a strategic director for about 5 years, I partnered with C-suite leaders, and I've seen them in action and I observed them. So I think that could be useful that I blend these two. I think first advice is to know what you're good at. I think it's really, really important that what you're really, really good at. And I know potential is always important, but I think when you come to those senior roles, you're often hired or appointed based on your strengths and achievements. And that's so important that you focus on, them, and then you make decisions or applications, and you put your hand up for things that are absolutely great. Secondly, probably is having a proper reflection on what gives you energy in general in life. Life is short and career is very long, and I think if we work in a company, in a sector, in a type of role that gives us energy, it aligns to our values, I think we are different, we're better, and it's easier, it's more natural, more intuitive for us to be at our best. And I think every now and then it's good to have that reflection and be brave to change directions if the current role that you're in doesn't give you that energy, because it's very difficult to pretend. And it links to the last advice that I would give, and because it was quite an eye-opening thing for me when I first joined that senior leadership team. I think it's important to be ready to be humble and to accept that you're not going to know everything. You're going to rely on other people, and it is really, really important to have that honest conversation with yourself, that it's time to be more real. It's time to bring more your heart to the work as much as your mind, and become as a whole person. Because I've seen leaders who were able to bring their emotions to work, who were quite brave to be vulnerable in front of their teams, they were the ones that actually built a much greater followership. And then that followership really helped them to get into more senior roles. So I think it's okay not to know everything. It's okay, you know, to rely on others. And yeah, it's okay to just be a little bit more in tune with the feelings that earlier in the career we might be kind of hindering them a little bit, and try to stay strong and always like on top of things. And I think, yeah, the senior leadership requires a little bit more that humility, I think.
I love that. And we talk about positive mindset and growth mindset on all of the Q&As that we do. How do you maintain a growth mindset? And have you got any tips to share with anyone who's looking to sort of perfect to work on their growth mindset?
Yeah, growth mindset. Yeah, I think it is. I feel like there's no single definition of what growth mindset is. It's very personal, especially when it comes to career. And I think me personally, when I first started my career, early years, for me, definition of growth and that growth mindset was all about, taking all in, learning, doing things and experiencing. And I was a lot in the moment, in the present. I was not really bothered about, okay, where I want to be in, 10, 15 years from now. And then, what should I be doing now? So early years for me, it was all about, get stuck in, do it. And then that really helps me because that kept growing in the role that I was doing. So it was phenomenal. And I would advise, younger talents just to give themselves the time of, learning and experiencing, and because that will help them to figure out what they really want. And I think I reached to a point after, I think, when I, started to feel a bit full, probably. It was, for me, the growth was more on, for me, the definition of growth was having an international career. And this can be different for different people. But for me, it was, I really wanted to build an international career. And then I've, made steps towards that. And I was extremely lucky to be in a company who could allow me to do that. But, it starts with a will. And then I've, built that international experience, worked across markets, and, I truly, truly enjoyed that. And I think it was coming closer to my, let's say, 20-year mark in the workplace. And I think that's where I think I had last year the proper reflection of, okay, what is next, what I want to do with my life. And this is, for me, probably the first time I gave it a real thought on where do I see myself in 15 years.
Yeah.
And that led to the definition, a new definition of growth for me, and brought a different mindset of, okay, how I'm going to get there. And for me, it was all about working in a sector that I really have a lot of energy, and wellness was one of them. And I really wanted to expand my skill sets to be able to work across different sizes of companies, because I was, I felt really equipped to work in a big company, but I really, really wanted to experience the small and medium-sized company spirit, because I knew that would bring me closer to where I wanted to go. And I think that's an ever-evolving thing in my mind. But I think it's all about asking the question, what I'm learning, am I growing? Is this taking me to the goal that I set for myself? Yeah. And this constant check-in with the self, I think it's quite healthy.
Oh, thank you. Fabulous answers. And I really, really appreciate you giving up the time. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Really much appreciated.
Thanks. Thank you, Suzie. Thanks for the time. I really, really enjoyed it too.